everyone, welcome to day 6 of my 2011 Halloween card making series. So for today's card I stepped out of the box a bit, doing a more of a vintage style, I guess is what you would call it. I started with the Authentique glowing 6x6 collection, and I started with sort of a basic layout, just playing with some of the different pattern papers. And then the stamps that I had wanted to use with these is the TJ Designs Trick or Treat set that I had picked up in one of my haul videos a couple months ago, I think. And again, the stamps are totally not my style, but I was determined to do at least one card in this series that totally was out of the box for me. So I did a ton of sponging this time around. The pattern papers just kind of called for it. They were a little bit distressed and grungy, and plus that was a way to make this lighter orange cardstock work with the rest of the papers, because I did not have a shade of orange that matched for the life of me. So one way to kind of get around that was to sponge everything with some Memento Rich Cocoa ink. And then for the main image, I've chosen this like little dancing skeleton stamp that's from the TJ design set. And I'm just stamping it with Brilliance Graphite black ink. Yeah, for pigment ink it gives really good detail, because this stamp was really finely detailed and I thought I would lose a lot of that with this ink, but no, it stamped great, so I was really impressed with that. So again, I kind of got the layout set how I want it, and then I wanted to stamp the sentiment onto one of the pattern papers. And again, just inking it up with the Brilliance Graphite black ink. And then once I had it stamped, I wanted to kind of trim down the bottom part of it a bit, just the way the H hangs down. I just didn't like the way it looked. So doing that, I just used my paper cutter to cut the bulk of it, leaving just that little tail of the H uncut. And then that's where I go in with my paper snips and trim around that, so that in my mind I just think it looks better that way. And then once that's done, obviously I have to refinish that piece of cardstock, so I sponge all along the bottom just to finish it off. So then once I've got all of that done, I also wanted to add like just a little bit of black, but rather than framing anything in black, I decided to use my Martha Stewart Drippy Goo punch. I think that's what it's called. Again, I don't remember the names of my punches to save my life. So I added a little strip of that, and then I got into adhering the card front together, which I super sped up because there's no sense you guys watching me just glue pieces of cardstock together. So I got all the different layers adhered together, and then I was going to add some black satin ribbon. And it was when I was starting to add the ribbon that I noticed that I totally forgot to sponge the orange cardstock, which was the main point of the sponging in the first place. So thankfully I was actually able to gently pry that piece out and sponge it, which normally you're not able to do when you, especially when using the ATG adhesive. Like, it's super strong. But I hadn't pressed hard enough and I was able to shift it out, sponge it, put it back in place, and yeah, I thought I would just include that in the video to show I make mistakes too and screw up more often than not, but thankfully with videos I can usually edit that out. So then, before I adhered the card front to the card base, I wanted to add just a little something more, so I chose these 3 glittery brads. They're from Making Memories. I bought them at Michael's last year, the year before I think. And then I'm just using my template, which is from Stampin' Up, to pierce 3 holes in a row. And I like using scissors when I'm using big brads like this. It just gives a perfect opening to slip the brads in, so I'm not marring the cardstock too much. And then just my AmyR Memory Keepers brad setting tool to press them into place. And then that was it for the card front itself. And of course I sponged the card base with the brown ink to kind of make everything go together. So that was it for the card front. And then on the inside of the card, I chose several more papers from the Authentique pack. And just using some scraps, fiddling around with the layout and whatnot. I used this little flying bat stamp, also from the TJ design set. I love that stamp. I think that's my favorite one out of the bunch, just that one little stamp. but it was just perfect for that spot right there. And then I also ended up using the large trick or treat image, and I stamped that onto pattern paper, and then ended up trimming that out just with scissors. Normally I prefer straight lines to be cut with a paper cutter. I don't like hand trimming that. I just don't think it looks right. But with an image like this, it just worked because the lines of it weren't like perfectly straight. So, and I was again planning on sponging everything, so that kind of covers up any crookedness or whatnot. So again, just like the outside of the card, everything on the inside all got sponged with the Memento Rich Cocoa ink, and then I used my ATG gun, glued everything into place, and then went to adhere that to the inside of the card. So again, this was another simpler card, at least for me. When there's not a lot of coloring involved, they go together a lot quicker. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!